My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 211. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Dermot Kennedy. The Irish singer and songwriter is returning with his sophomore record today, which is entitled Sonder. In today's episode, we're speaking with Dermot about the evolution of his songwriting, whether he'll make a quick return to Australia anytime soon, and we discuss our mutual love of one Mr. Glen Hansard. Here we go. Our guest today is an incredibly talented singer and songwriter from Ireland. Having started out busking on the streets, he spent the last year touring the globe, headlining his own shows and supporting Shawn Mendes. Today, he's releasing his brilliant second record, Sonder. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Dermot Kennedy. Hello, sir. How are we?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for asking. Where are we finding you today?
I am in Ireland. Which is a rare occurrence these days, but I am home for a few days, which is sweet. Yeah. And it literally just started bucketing rain outside randomly. So I feel happy to be home, to be honest. I can't be in the heat for too long.
As I know, Australians usually are kind of predispositioned to be, or predisposed, or whatever it is, to be normal in the heat, but I think I'm very much the same. I prefer a bit of a rainy kind of weather than the sun too much. I very much appreciate your time. It is an exciting time for you at the moment. We are here to discuss the brand new record for yourself. It is Sonder. Firstly, congratulations. This is a beautiful record, mate.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's one of the coolest things. And I think you have to check yourself multiple times. And it's not like an overly humble thing, but it is just, sometimes like, wow, like this is my second album. I even see 22 a million behind you. And like, I'm just sort of thinking like, it's so sweet to have these landmarks throughout your career and just be like, oh, I get to make albums and release it into the world. And, and it feels like a very nice thing. And I know they kind of take over your life and color your life and dictate it for the next few years. So I'm excited to kind of step into a new chapter.
Of course. Well, yeah, it is a brand new chapter. As you said, a brand new era. Was there, I feel like it's almost a bit of a cliche these days, but was there any pressure for yourself, I guess, coming up to this second record, the dreaded second record, if you will?
Yeah. I think for me, all my pressure is internal, to be honest. I think, and I guess that makes no difference. So the answer is yes, but it's just like, there's no outside pressure. It's all good. But it just, I put pressure on myself to kind of do the right thing. I think the main thing, like for me is as an artist, I want to make beautiful music and I want to tour it. And that's kind of the bottom line. But then it's interesting to have a career. There's certain decisions you got to make. There's certain, songs that can help you kind of move forward in your career. And so you have to kind of assess those for what they are and realize like, okay, is this true to me? Is this the right thing for me to do? So second album, that's where the pressure came from. I was kind of like, okay, I definitely want to progress my career. I want to reach more people, but I don't want to isolate anybody and I don't want to sort of, I don't want to change too much. So yeah, but I'm happy. Like, and it's just, I'm keen to get music out into the world. You can overthink things way too easily, I think.
I can very much appreciate that and I guess resonate with that as well. I think that sometimes you can almost overcook a song or an album, if you will, in terms of if you're continually returning back and forth to it and changing it. And so I personally love the title of the record and kind of what that stands for. I want to make sure I get the quote right, that the Sonder is the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own, which I thought was kind of a lovely way to encapsulate what life really is. What made it resonate with you so much, I guess?
I think it's just natural. Like I saw this word for the first time 3 or 4 years ago, and I had nothing to attach it to. I had no album to sort of stick it on. I had no song at the time that deserved it. And it's just something I've always that's always meant a lot to me. And I know this isn't unique to me, but I think like I spend a lot of time kind of just going for long drives by myself. And if I see a light come on in a house, I love building those stories in my head. And I love, it puts me back in my place, which I really love. I think as a musician and as an artist, you're so often kind of assessing your own feelings and thinking about your own life and your own ambitions and the past and your potential future. And you're just thinking like, it's not that important. Like, it's really not. Like, there's people, like if you drive through a town, there's probably so many people that are dealing with things that like you're so lucky to be in your position. So I don't know. I've always just been intrigued and fascinated by hearing other people's stories and by imagining them, to be honest. And just thinking about like the fact that everybody has good days, everybody has bad days. And, that's the beautiful thing about being on tour, is that like, you could catch someone on the best day of their life or the worst day of their life, but the music still carries for both of them. And I love that.
It is a fascinating concept. And as I mentioned, I do love it. I think, especially as you kind of mentioned, which I wanted to touch on, musicians and especially successful musicians like yourself, you are in this kind of industry where it is, even if you don't want to, the machine, the people around you wanting to focus on you, they're wanting to push you. And whether that's you as the product, you as the person, whatever it may be, it is an interesting thing that this kind of concept is about, turning that inside out and focusing on those around. And I think that one thing in my research today is that doesn't come across in terms of the artist, the kind of artist that you are, that I have been aware of your music for the last few years and I've enjoyed your music. One thing I've discovered in researching for today is that you're either a Dermot Kennedy fan or you're not aware of Dermot, because it seems that all the people that we do have in my inner circle and outer circle, that they're yet to hear your music or that they are, the ride or die kind of fans.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot, I think I've been very lucky to kind of cultivate a base of people that really care and really get it, And I think for me, it's just, I think if the music's right and if you carry yourself properly, that'll just continue to grow. We had a thing recently where I've been doing these gigs where I'm just playing in the street for free, and we do it for charity and stuff. And I did one in Toronto, and there was a few thousand people showed up, and genuinely a lot more than I expected. And we had a security guard, and as soon as we turned the corner and he saw this crowd of a few thousand people, he was like, no, this won't work. Like, this is dangerous. Like, there's too many people. And because there was no sort of infrastructure, there was no barriers. I was standing up on a park bench playing these songs, so it was very loose. Then he was like, this is too dangerous. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, like, these people are nice. Like if we go in there all aggro and carry ourselves in that way, it'll be an issue. But like, if you just stroll up and literally say hi to people, I think what I'm trying to say is I'm lucky enough to have cultivated a fan base where they just understand that I'm just a person. You know what I mean? Like, it's not this thing where it's like people swinging out of me and like trying to sort of shout at me and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, I'm a human who sings songs, and long may it continue, to be honest.
Yes, I would agree with that. And hopefully that is the case. I guess that point making before is that, it does seem to be almost like a sense of community that I've found with your fans, is that it's not just like a fan base. It is a sense of community. It's a place as you said, they recognize that you are a person, and there seems to be a recognition between them as well. Do you know, I guess, how do I ask this? Is there anything that you attribute to that? I guess, is there something that you've set out as an artist when you first started writing, or is it just that you managed to have kind of lucked upon such a caring fan base?
I think I don't pretend to be anybody, you know, like I think if I was playing a show tonight and if I was really angry or pissed off about something, that would be fine. Like I don't sort of sit side of stage and then like whack a smile on my face. Like I can be whoever I need to be. And I think I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's something I really appreciate. And I think like Bon Iver for me are kind of just the best thing to ever happen. And so the really intense honesty and power in that music is something that inspired me so much. And so I sort of set out to write music that was just really true to me. And it's, you know, it's like, I don't think, and I still haven't in sort of 15 years of making music, I haven't, I've never sat down and be like, here's what kind of song I'm going to make. Like, I'm going to try and do this today. I'm going to try and like speak on this emotion. I always just sit down and whatever happens. And so things feel quite organic, I guess. And so if that's kind of very truthful in the long run, it'll attract people who warm to that, I guess, and who are similarly open and like being vulnerable. And so I'm not sure how I did it. Yeah, I guess to be honest, it's been a long road. It's not as if I released my first song yesterday, you know? And so it's taken time, and there's a lot of choices along the way, you know, like it took a very long time for me to release a single, which was Power Over Me, like my first sort of like radio single is. And the reason I did that is because the reason I waited so long is because I was so scared of this scenario where I'd play a show for an hour and people would just not pay attention for 45 minutes, go crazy for that song and then go home. You know, like I'm not into that. And I've seen it happen at shows before. And so it was very important for me to just cultivate a fan base that like know every song. And in this day and age, like talking about sort of, you could debate the importance of albums these days at all, you know, but it's important to me to be an artist who makes albums and people actually sort of dissect and dive into every song instead of just being like, here's 10 singles over the course of 2 years, you know?
100%. I think it does come across that you are, how would you word it? Like you're an artist, if you will, not to sound too wanky, but that you are.
No, I appreciate it because I'd like to be. And you know, like in a world where I am trying to play big venues, I'm trying to have a big career. I feel like I'm quite an ambitious person, but I always, that's the most important thing, you know?
100%. Just a second ago, you mentioned Bon Iver and kind of not trying to sit down and write any kind of set song. That what happens with this new record. What was it? The opening track, Any Love, and the track Dreamer, I felt had elements of that kind of the second, and as we discussed, the third Bon Iver record sitting behind me. When you sit down to write, when you're in the studio, do you like to have external forces at play, if you will? Will you have music by other artists playing on around you, or are you someone who kind of tries to shut that out and, as you said, just what comes is what happens?
I don't try and shut it out. I never like if I show anybody anything in the studio, it'll be hip hop. Like if there's a reference, it'll always be hip hop. And the reason for that, I think, like, say, you know, like with Any Love, for example, if I were to kind of go to a producer and be like, oh yeah, but there's this song called Creeks and it's like, you know, vocal processing and whatever, and we just end up trying to copy that. Do you know what I mean? So it's very important for me to be inspired, but to also do my own thing, because I'd hate it would kill me if someone was just like, oh, he's just pretending to be this, you know, like, and so it's kind of a balance, right? Because you don't want to shut yourself off from potential inspiration, but also it is important to be yourself and kind of just let your own identity come to the front, because otherwise I think it's risky to try and like pretend to be somebody, basically.
100%. I can appreciate that. There are quite a lot of developments and sonics here, if you will, that the album kind of does build upon. I think what the first album, Without Fear, kind of started, and then you've added different elements. I don't want to say
This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes per detail.
I saw an interview with yourself where I think that you were discussing that there were certain elements of maybe pop or popular music, not pop as the genre itself. But there are bits and pieces that you're kind of pushing a sonic envelope here and trying different things. When you go into that and when you're creating, I guess, when you're in that moment, are you thinking of how it's going to be received? Is there a thought that we're talking about the very dedicated, loyal fan base? Is there a thought of how it's going to land within that group as well?
For sure. And I think that dedicated fan base that's been with me for a long time sometimes can underestimate how much they're on my mind, because it's always there. That thought is always there. But also, I have to grow as an artist and I have to grow as a person. And even I think about how it's received in the live setting. So I think about like the environments I play these songs in now. So Kiss Me, for example, is a much poppier kind of tune. But then I was saying earlier, when we were playing some shows with Shawn Mendes this summer, they were in these sports stadiums. And during sound check, I'd go out just to listen. And I was just like, wow, like this song belongs in places like this. And it has this kind of U2 Killers type vibe that just like drives this song home in an arena like this. And I was just like, I want to play places like that. I absolutely loved being in there, and I can't just play that with me and my guitar. I'd be bored. You know what I mean? So I want to try new things. And so, that's what I mean. I'm constantly trying to grow as an artist and reach more people, but also do the right thing and be conscious of the fact that like there's people with me for 6 years, 7 years, and do the right thing for them and give them the music that they love, Yeah, well, it's always a very fine balance. The number of artists that we talk about, it is that you could, if you chose to, you could really sit down and release the same or a variation of the same album for 10 years and keep a certain subcategory happy. Or you can kind of, there's an element of challenging both the audience and yourself and keeping yourself engaged with what's happening, what's going on. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And ultimately it's kind of messy, right? Because ultimately it would just be nice to ideally you just clear your head and do whatever feels organic. And then great. Like if someone likes that, sweet. If they don't, no hard feelings. And it's this thing where you're constantly trying to get back to that place of just being authentic and do the right thing, but just like follow your own instincts, because you go mad trying to please everybody,
Of course, yeah. There's no way to please everyone, so you might as well be keeping yourself exactly. Engaged. And yeah, I was hoping you might indulge me a little bit, Dermot. I know that people always talk about the busking aspect or the start of your career with that. I'd like to go a little bit before that, try and change it up a bit, try and give you something else to talk about. And I would love to talk about, I believe you and I might have a shared love of a certain gentleman called Glen Hansard and his band, The Frames.
The Frames, yeah. Yeah, even above Glen. Obviously, he's the sort of guy, but The Frames just as a band is just nuts to me. Yeah. When people don't know, I'm just like, wow, come on.
I was somewhat late to the party. I'm going to say this is about 2007, I think. They opened for Bob Dylan here in Australia, and that was my introduction when I was in my early 20s, and that was just a glass-shattering moment. But I believe that you had a similar thing of seeing the Frames on TV, and that was kind of like I want to pursue music, or I want to kind of go that career choice, like career way. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I was late to the party too, just by being born in the 90s. Like, I think when the Frames, like, I missed even their sort of period when they were just like the thing in Ireland, and there was such a cult thing. It was like, anytime I talk to like friends that are slightly older than me, they're kind of like, oh, it was the coolest thing ever. Like, if the Frames were playing, it was just the hottest ticket in town. And yeah, like we actually did a TV show recently. We played Jules Holland in the UK, and Colin McInerney, the fiddle player from the Frames, played with me, which was a very beautiful kind of like full circle thing. And it was I don't think he was necessarily aware of how insane it was for me to be playing with him. But yeah, just unbelievable music, right? Like, it's crazy. It was a good thing for me to find, honestly, because it showed me that these huge arrangements, like this sort of massive band of like, say, 6 people going for it, like hell for leather, can still have this really intense intimacy and so much feeling within that. It was important for me because I was always drawn to the acoustic side of things. And I was like, okay, this is going to be like just me and a guitar in theaters. And then when I found the Frames, I was like, no, you can really have that feeling, but like, it can go up, it can dip right back down, it can be really dynamic. And so, yeah, really, really special band.
100%. I think that there is something, and I don't know what the certain word, the term or phrase that it might be, because I feel that it does come across with a number of Irish singer-songwriters, and that's not to generalize either, but you've got Glen Hansard and the Frames, as we mentioned. Damien Rice would be another example, and yourself, I would almost put in that. I would put in that same category, almost as like each generation's different heartfelt Irish troubadour, if you will. What is it that, I guess, because I feel that it's very specific to Ireland, that you have these beautiful troubadours that do come out, and that you can, as you said, you can have 5 or 6 people smashing instruments, not smashing instruments, but like thrashing the hell out of their instruments, and it still comes across as a heartfelt, tender moment. And then you can still draw that into one man, a guitar and a vocal.
Where does that come from? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's always been a really important part of Irish culture, and like, I guarantee, I know the video, like if you put in Glen Hansard, Damien Rice busking, like it will be there. And I know we're not necessarily trying to talk about busking, but like, it's just part of culture in Ireland, and it's where a lot of people start. And I was saying earlier, I mean, I used to sort of whinge about not being able to get a gig and not being able to play in certain venues and stuff. And then I realized, like, you can play in the street to 1,000 people every single day, like it's easy. It's right there. That outlet is there for you. And so that's how I learned how to sing. And I don't know, it's just like, you go to any pub in Ireland, any party, like come 2-3 o'clock in the morning, like a guitar will come out and someone will start playing. And I know that's not exclusive to Ireland, but it's just, singing is just a very important part of who we are as people. And I think for me, it's very like, it's just natural. Like you were saying, I had that moment where I was watching the TV and I saw the Frames and I was like, I want to do that. And I think that's so important, so it goes down through the generations. I think about Van Morrison, like Sinead O'Connor, Hozier, all these artists. I'm just like, wow, like this is just something I want to be a part of. So I think it's very important that we nurture that as a culture here and kind of make sure that there's sort of opportunities for, like, if someone sees me doing something, that there's room there for them to be the next one. And I think that's very important, because we always, in Ireland, we always celebrate like punching above our weight as artists and singer-songwriters. And it's just like, that has to continue, I think.
100%. I know that you were very recently in our shores, so I feel like this is a bit of an unfair question to be asking you, but as we mentioned before, there is a very devoted fan base for you down here. I very quickly want to throw in a friend of the podcast. Her name is Caitlin, absolutely loves you and was the introduction to yourself for me. So I thank you, Caitlin, for that introduction.
Nice one.
Can we expect to see you back on our shores? I know it's only 3 or 4 months, but can we expect to see you back in Australia supporting this album?
I think so. Yeah, I would love to. I think we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to, we got some things kind of early next year that have to fall into place, but I would love to be honest. And, you know, it would just feel, I'd be very excited to come back because the gigs this year felt very special. And they were the sort of size of venues where it was like, is this going to work out? Like, is this going to be okay? Blah, blah, blah. Like, will people sort of come in crowds this size? And it really, really, it felt like a special moment. And we had some really good shows. So I'm very keen to come back. Definitely. I love it down there, to be honest. And it's really sweet because you get this thing where you don't get in other tours. So say, like if you're playing New York, Boston and Philadelphia, it's really like play a show, get on the bus, play the next show. Whereas in Australia, because places are so far apart from each other, you get this lovely time to explore and you'll often have days off. And so like, I really do like being down there. So yeah, hopefully I'll go back.
Please. Well, if you do come back next year, you manage to make it to Adelaide, which is South Australia, please let us know. We'll give recommendations on what you can do on those days off. Yeah, 100%. Dermot, lastly, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there anything that's currently on high rotation for yourself?
Sure, yeah. Just yesterday I was listening to, actually there's 2 artists that I think are fantastic at the moment. One is Dijon. You've heard of him?
Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Crazy. And then there's another guy called La Russell that is like making mad amounts of noise in hip hop, but he's from Vallejo in California. And it's such a unique thing to watch. It's really, really cool. Basically, he isn't signed to anybody. He is putting on shows in LA and stuff with no booking agent, no ticketing agent. Like he literally just sells the tickets himself. He sells the merch himself. He has this really cool kind of pay what you want policy where people can, and he like, if someone invests in his career, he'll give them publishing on a song and give them like royalties and stuff. It's really cool. You got to check him out. But above all, the music is really sick too. So yeah.
I love any time that an artist can kind of revolutionize the way that they interact with people, and that is incredible. So definitely Dijon, solid choice, but we'll definitely check out La Russell.
Yeah.
Dermot, thank you so much for your time today. Congrats on Sonder, the album. We look forward to seeing you when you're in Australia soon, but yeah, thank you for being on the podcast.
Nice, man. Thank you.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Dermot Kennedy for his time. Sonder is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy the record. We also want to give a huge shout out to Sam at Universal Music Australia for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you? If people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else. Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.